Okay, 3, 2, 1. All right, for this bonus step, I mentioned it in the last video, we're going to be adding some sounds to our physics crate. If you've played games like Half-Life or Portal, or really any game that uses some sort of physics puzzle mechanic as a core component of gameplay, usually when you have objects that you can move around, like using physics, they will usually, make a sound when they bump off of the wall or the floor or what have you. That's just a general way that we can, show the player that they're, having an impact in the world and actually physically interacting with objects here. So what we're going to do is start by clicking on our physics create prefab, of course, if you need to know where the prefabs is, or are, that's in the prefabs gameplay folder. And we're going to double click on it and open it up. What we'll then do is in our physics crate object here, we're going to add a component audio source. And then we're going to add a new script to this one. So we're going to call this new script box sound controller. There we go. And of course, as always, when we use add component to create a new script, it's going to show up in our assets folder. So we need to remove that, or move that to resources, scripts, and the created folder. There we go. Now we see that in there. Before we open that up, let's actually click back on our physics crate here. And we want to open up our audio source. And just like before, we want to make sure we're getting rid of some of these, or changing some of these settings to match what we want it to do a little more. So we're going to uncheck play on awake. We're going to make sure our reverb zone mix is set to, oh wait, no. We want that set to whatever its value is. We want spatial blend set to 3D. That's going to have some nice effects for us, and we're going to change our max distance once again to 10. Following the trend of our other audio sources in our game here. Once we've got all of our settings set, we can go ahead and hop into the box sound controller. Here, we're going to add a variable at the top. It's going to be a public audio clip array, which again is denoted by those little box or square brackets there. We're going to call this collision sounds, and then we need an audio source AS. There we go. And then in start, AS is equal to get component audio source. Oops, there we go. Now we can delete our update method because we're actually not going to be using it. All we need to do is say void on collision enter, and you remember to copy that all down exactly as it's written there. If you don't have IntelliSense and autocomplete, so the collision and all that stuff. And we're just going to say we don't need to check. We want this to make a sound whenever it collides with anything, maybe anything other than the player. So let's actually say if collision .gameObject.tag is not equal to player. So that means if we're colliding with anything but our player, we want to play one of our collision sounds. So we'll say as.play one shot, and then collision sounds, and then in square brackets on that, we want to say random.range 0 to collision sounds.length. There we go, just like that. So now, whenever our box collides with anything, it's going to pick a random sound from our array of sounds here, and then it's going to play it one time. So if we go back to Unity now and take a look at our box controller component, we have this collision sounds drop-down thing here. And again, if you're on a newer version of Unity, you'll see this size field over on the right here. I believe we're going to set that to 4. Let's actually, before we check, let's once again lock our inspector here so that we can click around without having to worry about this getting closed. We're going to go to sounds and then box, and yeah, there's 4 of them here. So we're going to grab those 4. And it actually looks like these were exported incorrectly. So give me 1 second. I'm going to fix those. There we go. Now we've got our sounds looking the way we want them to there. So yeah, let's go ahead and drag all 4 of these guys in here, just like that. There we go. And now we can go back to our scene, and if we hit play, you heard that box land right there. And if we throw it, There we go. Now it's kind of, sounds a little bit more like it's actually bouncing around in the world now. And if we throw it at our button, you get that button to activate. Yeah, just like that. I think that sounds pretty good. There we go. Cool, so now that you've got that working, you can go ahead and save. And on the next bonus, we're going to be doing something not sound related for once, so be sure to check that out.